cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
To a name that Jeff Coffey. So I picked King Vitamin after the cereal. And my friends thought it was funny and called me King as a joke. This is one of those jokes that stuck. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people probably don't call you Jeff too often, right?
Yeah, only people I owe money to. So and my parents, which is, I guess, the same thing.
Right. And you grew up in Texas?
Mm-hmm. Just barely, Fort Worth. So.
That you don't consider that Texas, or?
Well, Dallas-Fort Worth is pretty cosmopolitan. You know, it's not like real Texas. You know, like South Texas or West Texas or scary ass East Texas. You know. So.
And what are we in the Hill Country? Is that what this part of Texas they call it?
Yeah, this is Central Texas, which can be real Texas, but Austin's fake Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I thought that like this was the real Texas and the rest was like fake Texas.
Austin's fake Texas, where it's kind of like San Francisco, where you get like all the people who can stand real Texas, and they all come to Austin still thinking it's Texas, but it's really fake Texas. So you have expatriates like myself from Fort Worth who hated Fort Worth and got the hell out of Dodge, so to speak, and came to Austin. And that's all Austin is. And plus these days it's all Dell Computer as well. It's really Dell, Texas. You know, it's all fake.
They're taking over the land that Liberty Lunch was on, right?
They might as well be. It's some anonymous startup that is not going for $20 billion now. I don't know, but yeah, they're taking it over. Basically, it's just true. All of central downtown Austin is being paved over for computer companies, and I'm a big fan of technology. It's pretty terrifying as well. I mean, like in Austin, which touts itself as being the live music capital of the world, which sounds great. It's really false, because the city of Austin sold out a classic, great venue club like Liberty Lunch to make room for another computer company, which Austin needs a whole lot more. So Austin's kind of, like I say, Austin's fake. For fake.
When did you move here to Austin?
I started becoming a phony in '83. That's when I moved. I was out of high school, and as soon as I hit 18 and was out of high school, I went straight to Austin, because Austin had a really big punk rock scene, far bigger than Dallas or Fort Worth. So I was seeing bands like the Dicks and the Big Boys and the Butthole Surfers. I joined the Butthole Surfers in '83. They'd been kicking around in '82 or '81.
Okay, so you had seen them before?
Yeah, I was a big fan. They were one of those weird bands that Texas did pretty well. Texas had a whole spin on punk rock that it wasn't really angry and it wasn't really political. It was just weird. It was just stupid. And I don't know if it's because, you know, the combinations back then of the heat, and I think also being more isolated, especially back in the early '80s. We don't have like as much infusion between the East Coast and West Coast. That Texas kind of invented its own weird strain of punk rock. And the Butthole Surfers were like one of the best examples of it, because it was really more about performance art. They didn't play fast. They didn't play slow for slowness' sake. It was just messed up. It's more about PCP than it was about Sex Pistols, you know. And so, you know, it was appealing. And in '83, they were looking for a drummer. My first band, the Hugh Beaumont Experience. We were a teenage high school band from Fort Worth that refused to write songs. But anyway, that band got involved. My old band got involved in a check writing scam and had to leave the state of Texas. So I was left without a band, and they were looking for a drummer. The Buttholes were looking for a drummer. That's how we hooked up.
All right.
And they felt sorry for me. So.
All right. Now, and was that time where you guys had two drummers, or?
Pretty soon after, because I really suck as a drummer. Like we had to call in for reinforcements pretty quickly. So yeah, about 3 months into my stint, we got a second drummer named Teresa, and I didn't have a kick drum because I lost the pedal in '82. So I was playing standing up, and then we got another drummer, Teresa, and she also played standing up as well. So we were kind of like the marching band of the hardcore.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing you in like '84, and you guys had bags of clothes between the drum sets, and, you know, between songs, you guys were just pulling out new shirts, throwing them on. And
this clothes, we were really fans of places like in Athens, Georgia, and then also in El Paso, where we have entire buildings where you just kind of like buy clothes by the pounds, and by the pound, it's really cheap. So apparently on that show in Chicago, Tucson, we had a big bag of clothes. We just stopped off somewhere like that and filled the van up with 2-cent clothes, and there you go.
And was there lots of other hijinks going on in those early tours?
No, it was basically Bible study and hardcore punk rock shows. You know, it was about it. I mean, it was, it was fun, man. It was a dream come true. I mean, like, when I joined the Buttholes, I never left the state of Texas, I was always in Fort Worth, and so when I was 18, into my 20s, I was able to travel across the country and eventually go into Europe, be with a band. I thought the best band on the planet. So, as
definitely the best live band on the planet.
Even though we were sucking, I mean, like even though like we were like completely destitute, every cliche that there is about rock and roll touring and stuff, we kind of thought we were still kings of the world, so to speak, because we thought we were a great live band. So I mean, it is the best rock and roll thing that can happen to be in a good band and touring and traveling. It was great. It's really fun. I recommend it to everybody.
All right. And now that you guys have a new album coming out this year?
I hope. I don't know, man. We've been working on it since '97, and then we got involved in a legal snafu between people who make a whole lot more money than I do. So, but yeah, we've been working on it. It's coming out this year. So when, I don't know.
I don't know if you saw the paper yesterday, but they quoted they renamed the album after the astronaut after the acid wore off.
It's a different record, man. It's
Is After the Astronaut the one you're going to release, or is it a totally new thing?
It'll be mostly that.
Okay.
It's mostly loops and samples, and it's very little live rock playing. It's mostly about samples and loops. I've spent the past 3 years in front of my Mac just making loops and being loopy, but there's more experimentation to this record than the past two major. I mean, like the last two Capitol records were real kind of rock. I mean, real for us kind of mainstream and rock. This one's just completely different. It reminds me more of our '80s stuff in the sense that it's done at home and it's more experimental and looser. That's a fancy way of saying that it sucks, I guess, but I like it.
Okay. And when's the last time you guys mounted a tour?
I'm sorry?
When's the last time you guys were on tour?
Well, on tour, it's been a while. It's 96.
96?
Yeah, we're now like this out of control corporate rock beast. Where if we tour, it involves taking a truckload of lights and a whole lot of stuff. Back in the glory days of the '80s, we traveled just like one little Radio Shack strobe light. But over time, we become dependent on banks and banks and banks of strobe lights. So it's kind of hard to just do like a one-off local show. So.
Okay. Because I remember it was probably the 90 or 91 tour. You guys had the banks of lights facing out at the crowd. And it was like blinding to the crowd.
It was pretty obnoxious.
I mean, obviously that was the intent of it. But did you guys ever like mess up and looking at the lights from right there? I mean, you guys knew when they were coming on, right? And you'd be facing forward, so you wouldn't be.
Oh, I'm sure we messed up. But everybody's so blinded and terrified by the lights, you don't really notice, the audience. So it's great. But it's actually, we've had training in that department. I mean, I think I brought in the first Radio Shack strobe light, and I put it underneath my clear floor tom back when I was standing up. So like really early on, I got used to staring at flashing lights while I'm playing, and then we added a few more, and then we stole a few more, and then it's just kind of conditioning, So.
Okay.
Do you have any strobes in here right now? I might be more comfortable.
No, I believe I've got some skeleton lights.
Spin is a low budge operation, so.
Look at this thing. We can't afford air conditioning.
Hey, but it's soundproof.
Yeah, somewhat.
It's like 21 at the game show, but.
Yeah, sure. Do you think corporate rock? Do you think like the ugly monster face head of corporate rock was Lollapalooza? I mean, you guys were on the first Lollapalooza.
Do I think that was?
Do you think that was like the beginning of like
our involvement?
Not your involvement, but like corporate rock, like cashing in, like I mean. I
don't know. That's really hard to say. I mean,
what are your reflections of Lollapalooza now? I mean, looking back at it.
Lollapalooza for a band and for ourselves was fun. I'm backtracking a bit, thinking that the first American hardcore band to get signed to a major, I think, was Husker Du, and that was late '80s, I guess. And
right, '86.
And while like they weren't flops, it didn't really like change the industry. And I think after that, it didn't really affect much. But I think by the time of Lollapalooza, the first one, and certainly by the time of Nirvana, you certainly had American corporations tapping into this genre of music as far as what we did, as far as underground rock bands kind of stuff. Because before that, it's mostly stuff like Depeche Mode and a lot more like synth-oriented and more safe Brit kind of stuff. So yeah, I think maybe like the Jane's Addiction packaging their favorite bands and having the money behind it. I think that definitely got a lot of people's attention. We signed to a major right about then as well, so I think that was a turning point.
Okay.
I think more than anything, it was kind of more like the times kind of catching up with a lot of the bands in a way. Like I'm really amazed now when I watch basketball games or whatever, and they're playing the Ramones, and it's when the Ramones came out, it was terrifying. It was so fast and so furious. Now it's so cute. Oh, the Ramones, so it really takes a lot to offend people anymore. Or
when you have a car commercial being 88 lines about 44 women, it's selling cars.
Well, and that one commercial for a Hyundai, which people are crowd surfing a car, 4x4 and stuff. The punk rock is just been completely taken over by commercial interests. And when I see kids like little mohawks and stuff and some buying the Maximum Rock and Roll, I think to me it's really retro. It's really that's the coolest man on the planet. He is the coolest man on the planet. He's from, and you know us by the Trail of Dead. No, he's the coolest man on the planet. But oh yeah, cool kids in rock and roll. I was gonna say it's kind of like Sha Na Na. It's like rockabilly. It's like people really into punk these days. To me, it's like akin to being into like rockabilly as far as emulating a style in a time and place that was 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
And I think it's really hard now for kids to really rebel. I mean, like there's stuff in or to do musically innovative things. There's aspects in electronic culture that I like, but I think even that's getting. I mean, like Jungle sounded great, 5 years ago. Now it's it's used in Clairol commercials, So it's really hard, man. I think it's tough.
All right. And how long do you think you guys can continue doing the Butthole Surfers?
Oh God, man, I'm surprised we've been doing it for this long. I mean, when you join something called the Butthole Surfers, you don't think of what you're going to be doing in the year 2000, So I have no earthly idea, I don't know, man. Hopefully we'll be making the Clairol commercials and yet somehow be changing a lot of clothes with 2-cent clothes in the stage in Chicago somewhere.
Have you guys been approached by any kind of corporate things to use any of your stuff? I mean, it's probably.
We're totally sucking corporate cock these days. I mean, full on. But unfortunately, we're called the Butthole Surfers.
Right?
Say what?
It's Mickey's.
Mickey's malt liquor?
No, Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah, we're working for Walt. We're working for Walt Disney these days. I got an advance check last year that had the Walt Disney signature on it. Of course, it's a logo, but of course he's frozen somewhere in L.A. But that's beside the point. Yeah, I mean, like it's full on corporate. Man. It's totally phony. This is fake Texas. We're a fake Texas band.
All right. And is the album going to be called after the astronaut?
No. It was apparently when we invoked the astronauts, we jinxed ourselves. So it's best not to fuck with astronauts because they will fuck back tenfold. NASA is strong and mighty and powerful, and they're just 2 hours down the road. So you don't want to mess with NASA. So
okay. When you said before the Butthole Surfers were more of like a PCP band, I mean, was that the drug of choice back in the day?
Well, it sure sounds great to say, doesn't it? I've never done PCP, but
was LSD
I've done LSD.
Leading contributor to the live experience, or do you find a lot of your fans come?
I don't think it's really so much about the drugs. I think for us back then it was simply being isolated. I think things have changed, for Texans in the year 2000, but for growing up in the 70s and 60s, Texas had a lot more mystique to it and was a lot more isolated from the rest of mainstream American culture. And it was kind of like being Australia. I mean, as far as we kind of just developed independently, and I think we reacted to stimulus in a different way than a lot of people did from outside the U.S. And of course, a whole lot of drugs had a lot to do with it as well.
Okay. Do you guys still have a big European following, or big outside the States, or?
Hell, I don't know. We haven't been there since '96, and can stand it. So.
All right. And do you remember the first concert you went to?
Yeah, it was the Ohio Players and Casey and the Sunshine Band and Hot Chocolate at the Tarrant County Convention Center. Whatever year for the Love Roller Coaster tour for the Ohio Players. The Ohio Players were the headline band, and they had a giant neon roller coaster as their backdrop. And I was a kid, and my dad, it was my birthday, my dad took me, and my dad and I, it was the 70s, we were wearing t-shirts and blue jeans and sandals, because that's what white people wore in the 70s. But everybody around us were black, and they were all just dressed to the T. I mean, like, full-on, like, Cleopatra Jones style, just great hats and, like, dresses and stuff. So that was definitely an eye-opening experience, I think that was a turning point in my life,
And do you have a favorite concert of all time, the best concert you ever saw?
Yeah, it's not famous, but it was a local band called the Dicks, who were from Austin, and they were fronted by Gary Floyd, who's playing during South by Southwest, and
Black Kali Mali or
Black Kali Ma, his name of his new band. He is the greatest soul singer since Janis Joplin. I mean, he's just an amazing soul singer, and he weighs 300 pounds, and he was a drag queen, and he fronted a really great punk rock band. And when they did a song called "Fake Bands" that for an encore, I was just in heaven. Nothing apocalyptic happened. I can't give you any really amazing anecdote, but everybody has like really small moments of a live music thing, and that to me was like the ultimate of punk rock. It was so immediate. It was so in your face. It was surreal as hell, and like 200 kids were all just like, in an instant mosh, and that was like when punk rock really had its most immediate impact on me. It's still my favorite musical moment, I think. Okay. It happens all the time. I mean, like, while it's not nearly the same, last night I saw Stuart Walker, I think his name is. He's just a DJ slash producer, and he kind of plays a house music kind of stuff. But it was at a small club, but the PA was just cranking, and it was just booming 4/4 kind of stuff, and and at times it was kind of transcendent in its own way. It was really beautiful. It was really nice. So fortunately, you can find these little things all the time. Trail of Dead, who were playing during South by, and they're from here. They are the best live band on the planet, and when they kick into it, it is transcendent. It is just it's everything that's good about rock and roll. It's immediate, it's in your face, and it transcends words. It's about feeling and emotion. So it happens all the time.
Do you think one of the big changes in from when you guys started playing your punk rock music was that you used to be able to stage dive? I mean, do you like the crowd surfing, or do you like stage diving?
I really hate that crap. I mean, it's cool people get into it, but the whole like moshing kind of thing is to me like a real kind of macho kind of thing, and it tends to hurt smaller people and skinny people like myself, and it seems some kind of weird jock carryover in rock and roll. So things like stage diving, well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. It's the people who have to catch these people who get kicked in the face, that I can't stand. My favorite dance was the pogo, man. The pogo was great. You just jump up and down. It's liberating, man. You can jump your way to heaven if you do that, But the bruising and the no room for girls on the dance floor, I'm not really into,
Okay. All right. I think that's about it. But do you want to give us some? We're having our 15th anniversary party. Obviously, you knew about that. Just Spin, happy 15th anniversary.
Hi, Spin, happy 15th anniversary. I can't believe you're still in business when really you're funded by pornographers. But you go, girl. Hi. Okay.
All right. Cool. Oops. Sorry about that. Are we ready to go?
I'm all set.